You guys are live.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the class. My name is Mackenzie, and this is Rio. So this year, we're introducing new people to speak at the classes. So it'll be Ken, and his daughter Mackenzie, Rio, Eric. Just see some new faces. They've all been with us for a while. They all know what they're talking about. Just she was talking pretty thick. She's kind of our expert house person. She knows a lot of information. So, has to be that hour. The class schedule is online moving forward. We'll class all the way until April every week. So go ahead and check those out if you want more. I'm going to leave it to Rio. I'll only chime in if she has a question or wants me to speak. Otherwise, she'll know what her thoughts. So this is Rio.
As you said, I'm Rio. If you've been here much the last 2 years, probably seen me a lot down by the Houseplants. First, we're going to talk about some of the plants.
This is the handout. A lot of you already signed it. I'm going to pass it around. Handouts will be after Violet, how to have healthy houseplants list, and then top air quality houseplants. So one that kind of put out, stuff like that. So yeah, I'll email it by Monday. Hopefully end of the day, but by Monday you'll have it. Right, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so we'll be talking about plants, different light requirements. If you've grown houseplants at all, one of the most important things is how often you water and what kind of light you have. So that's going to dictate what you can put where. To start with, we'll be going over a lot of low light houseplants. One of Ken's recent articles was the top 10 low light houseplants. We've done a lot of those. We have a few that can take more light too, though. Starting with some of our lower watering requirements. If you go on a lot of vacations, you're going for a few weeks at a time. You don't want to have somebody come water your plants. These are great for that. So some of the easiest ones for lower light, lower care, start your houseplant journey. Snake plants, also known as the live Sansevieria. These are really easy plants. They're also one of the ones with very good air quality, so they're going to filter out a lot of toxins in your house. They're one of the few plants that produce oxygen at night. This is a great one to have in home. Another one is the ZZ plant. We like to call it Easy ZZ. So this is the Raven variety. There's two colors that these come in. This is the darker, it's called Raven. The newer shoots are going to come up a lighter green, not too much with the color of the other ones too. This one, like the snake plant, yeah, the ZZ. If anyone has questions, by the way, just raise your hand. Take questions throughout. So you're only going to water these, especially the larger ones, every maybe once a month. These can take low light. Yeah. Yeah, so we just literally ZZ. Okay, ZZ. The Latin is really long. It's not listed, but it's like Zanzifolia,
That's the Raven.
Yeah.
Raven.
Yeah, this is the Raven ZZ. And when we talk about light requirements, you're going to think about it in terms of how far away you are from light. So if I'm your bright sunny window, light's coming straight in. Your bright direct light is going to be right in front. So the stuff that can go in your direct light is going to be your cactus. There are some that tolerate light directly, like snake plants can tolerate pretty much anything, so they can go directly in too. Next to that window. So not quite in the direct sunbeams, but next to it is going to be your bright indirect. If you have a lot of bright indirect, you can do pretty much any house plant out there. They love, that's the most happy house plant zone, is right next to that window, but not in it. A few feet away from that is going to be your medium. A lot of plants do well there too. Other side of the room, away from that window, is going to be your low light. When we say low light, still a sunny room, still has light, but it's going to be away from it. So you can still, read a book, a little dim, but that's the level of light. If you have a closet that has no windows, no lights, that's not going to be your low light. That's going to be the no plant zone. That's your cave. So I wouldn't put plants there. Even the ones that tolerate low light are not going to do well in total darkness. Some of the other, going back to the different zones. So for instance, your direct light, you can do plants like your succulents, your aloes, barrel cactus, all that stuff is going to do really well in your bright direct light. your indirect bright light right next to the window is going to be most of these plants, most of any plant. So you can do your pothos, you can do your snake plants, your philodendrons, pretty much everything we have there. Medium light, the same. A lot of them can go into that. Once you get to low light, you have to be more picky. You have kind of a cave of a house like I have exactly 2 windows I can put plants in, and everything else is low light. That's when you have to be more picky. And if you're ever not sure, you can come to us and be like, what does well in this? Some of the other ones that do well in your lower light, you want something fun. A lot of calatheas will do really well. You do have to be careful that these are understory plants, which means in the rainforest they grow at the ground floor. So they don't get tons of direct light. They don't like that, but they get a lot of moisture. So there's a couple options to keep them moist. One of the easiest, if you have a family bathroom, a lot of people shower in there, it's going to be really humid all the time. They're going to be really happy in there. Another option is to mist, literally a spray bottle, and you just give it a mist every once in a while. Third option, you can do what's called a pebble tray, which is when you have a saucer underneath your pot. Literally how it sounds, you have pebbles in it. And you have a good layer of pebbles that basically, I'll do it a little bit. But you pour a little bit of water in the bottom, about a quarter inch. And what happens when you have the plant on it is as it evaporates, it provides. You don't need very much, maybe like quarter inch, half an inch. And you want to make sure your pebbles are high enough that the water is not running over them, because you don't want the water. Some other low light plants that do really well, pothos are one of the easiest if you're starting out, along with the snake plants, your ZZs, pothos, or pothos, depending how you pronounce it. There are different types, pretty much same care, except if you have ones that have a lot of variation. This one has a little bit, so it's got a little bit of speckled yellow in there. The lower your light, the more green your leaves are going to go. They'll actually lose some variegation because your variegation doesn't photosynthesize. The lower your light is, the harder it's going to be for that plant to take in energy from the sun. So it's going to actually revert more to green. So if you have a low light spot, you know you're putting light plants, you can just start out with like totally green leaves. That way you don't worry about, oh no, my pretty colors are leaving. And then one of the things to keep in mind with the plants too is what type of soil you're going to. So your cactuses are not going to want to stay wet. What we're doing with houseplants is trying to mimic their natural environment. So things that are used to staying really moist, you want to put them in a soil that's going to retain water, like a good potty mix. This is going to ensure that it's never fully dry out often, maybe once a week, every other week. Those are going to be your pothos. Peace lilies are going to want to stay wet, but not so deep. There are things like your Sandaria, your snake plants, your aloes. Most of the stuff you put in direct light is going to want to dry out more. We're used to more arid, hot environments. You want more sun. You want to stay drier. So you're going to put them in like cactus. This is formulated to drain, to not hold water. Whereas these are formulated to hold some of that. These have a lot of moss. That's going to keep your moisture. This has a lot of sand and grit. So water's going to run through it, which is what they're used to. Now, going back to the peace lilies, this is one of my favorite houses. These are really easy. They're more of a water hog, so you have to be there enough to keep them watered. This is the variegated variety. I think it's called Domino. Yep, this is the Domino peace lily. This is a variegation of this one right here. So you can see they flower. The variegated is not going to flower quite as much as the non-variegated, and they take in energy easier as a flower. But these are really easy low light plants, medium light, and the pretty and the flower. You don't get a lot of low light plants that flower. Yes. Good question. So the question was, how often do these flower? The answer is it varies. Two main things to look at if you have a plant that flowered when you got it and has it since is the light. Even your low light plants, if you move them into a little bit more sun, sometimes that can make the difference in no blooms and getting blooms again if they just don't have quite enough energy to put off flowers. The second thing to look at is if you're fertilizing it up. I don't have it up here. We have different fertilizers. So this is an all-purpose. You can use this on pretty much everything. This is a 10-10-10, though it's not listed. We also have one called African Violet. And what that one's formulated for is not just for African Violets, but for blooming plants. So it is higher in phosphorus. So your three numbers are going to be nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. The first one in nitrogen is your leaves. Overall green, putting out more. Your middle number, phosphorus, is going to be roots and flowers. So that's going to make the difference in if a plant has the capability to flower or not. And then your potash, the third one, is structure, immune system, things like that. So I check, your fertilizer you have, maybe it's not enough, phosphorus, or not often enough, and the light.
It's zero.
It's zero. That'll do it. So the ones that we sell, you can use these every time you water. So the ratio is a teaspoon per gallon. I have a smaller water can, but in mine, I put 2 drops in the water. So it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to bust out the measuring cup. But yeah, teaspoon per gallon or a couple drops. Mine's like a 4 watering can. I can use like 4 or 5 drops in there if you keep track. But yeah, these are low enough fertilizer numbers. You can do it every time. And then for moisture, if you're ever not sure, especially if you have plants, what moisture level you should keep your plants at. The people who've been doing this a long time, they lift up their plant, they're like, it's almost there, and we look at that and we're like, what do you mean? This will tell you where you're at moisture-wise. This is a moisture meter. It's got like a little sensor on the very bottom, and when you stick it in, that's going to measure towards the root system, down into the pot, how moist it is down there. Because we can stick our fingers in, but some of the plants, we need to know what's going on at the base of the root system, and this is going to tell you that. So it's got numbers on the top. And typically you want to water when the little red node is between 1 and 2 for most things. Your cactus, I'm going to tell you, you're going to let it dry out. They're going to be at 0. It's going to be okay. Give it longer. But a lot of your other houseplants, between a 1 and a 2 works. So it takes the guesswork out of watering. And then,
Hold on, I got something to say.
yeah.
And then you got the question. Let me mention one thing. So, what people don't understand in Arizona is it likes to freak people out. So you can stick your finger and the top will be completely dry, but things dry out. Here, the bottoms stay unnaturally wet in Arizona. Surprisingly, where the base of the plants are will stay wet. So your finger's just not deep enough to check. So this time of year, like winter, people will overwater things. Because it's warmer in your house, your plant's not actually drying out as much as you think it is. I water some of my plants once a month, and some of them are like a piece. I water that twice a month. So in the fall. So just that's how much we use here. Okay, this you can't use them outside. They're not very useful outside. They're good for pots.
Question. Yeah. Right, kind of learning the hard way. So our guest was talking about when the plants start turning yellow, you've gone too far, watering too much. When they start turning brown, they're drying out. good rule of thumb inside and outside. Usually when that starts happening, you can have some dieback though. So it's kind of a slow burn of like, I'm stressing out this way and stressing out that way. But sometimes you learn the hard way. Why is it going yellow? That's usually why. If it's pliable and it's turning yellow, especially, you'll see that a lot in your cocos and things like that. Or if you're overwatering even easy, sometimes you'll get a couple of yellow leaves. If you're not sure why, that's usually why. But you can always bring your plant in and be like, what's wrong with this? And we'll diagnose. Question.
The water meter.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we aren't going to buy one for each plant.
No,
So we put it in for how long or whatever.
Yeah, so easy. You don't want to keep the moisture meter in your pot. When it stays wet, I've heard of you about leaving it outside. Got rain. Don't do that. They don't want to stay wet. You literally take it, stick it in your pot, check the moisture, and take it back. You don't need one per pot. You just need one in your house and maybe one in your garage to go take outside and run through your pots, and that's it. This works until it breaks. Any other questions?
How long does it take to just seconds? Or
It's seconds. So how long does this take? You literally, once you put it in, it'll tell you what moisture you're at. You can stick it in multiple plants and it'll tell you each one. So it's not digital, it doesn't need batteries. It literally just through the power of science, what I don't understand. Go ahead.
So if you overwater, anything you can do to recover?
So overwatering. First thing, don't water as much anymore. There's a few things you can do to help stressed plants get out of that period of stress. If it's staying too wet, main thing is to just back off water. But there are products to help reduce stress. This is root control. This is great for transplanting too. If you go through transplant shock, sure everybody's had this one plant die from moving it into a different pot and like, why did you die? That's why. But any period of stress. So if it's getting overwatered, this is basically carbohydrates and B vitamins. So it encourages baby hair roots to grow. And the more roots we're having in that pot, the more it can soak up the water, the less it's going to sit wet. This is great when you're getting, a plant that you're putting into a bigger pot, or if it's just going through a period of stress. For houseplants, I would do a lower ratio than it says. Outside, this is 2 capfuls per gallon, or so. But inside, I'd probably put like 1 cup of water with that. So you basically wait till next time it needs water, add it in, like a little medicine for it, help those roots for, and get it out of the stress.
You don't want to panic and just stop watering it, because you don't want to go, here's all your water, and then, oh, you get nothing. It freaks them out. So you don't want to stop it completely. You want to occasionally moisten it. Don't just drown it, something like that. That's how you kind of back off that overwatering. And you don't necessarily want to replant it. It's already stressed out. Certainly you think move it out of that dirt, get rid of it, but you'll just freak it out. Get used to that home and just panic a little bit. So you try the green throw first, and then don't just move it around.
So this is called root and grow.
3-2-1, really can't burn with it. There's a little bit of a smell from fermented cheese, so just go lightly on it. You don't need to squeeze it.
It's organic. Don't leave it in your watering can. If you leave it in your watering can, especially outside, it's going to start smelling. Organic stuff is going to have more of a scent than, all the chemicals and stuff. You can. There are some plants that I've struggled with. I'm like, what is your problem? No matter if I underwater or overwater, you seem to always have an issue. Sometimes I fix it. I had that issue with some of these succulents, the family of the string of banana, string of pearls. And what I found out is if I misted it more and did more of a light watering more often, that kind of fixed the problem. So some of it is just kind of learning your plant. Misting doesn't hurt. It's only like once a week. Most plants here will be really happy with a little bit more humidity, and sometimes that's so it's just kind of learning your plant sometimes, or if you have questions, you just bring the plant But that was one of the things I was on with these was these hold water in all these little, this is the string of bananas. They're shaped like little bananas. They wanted a little more moisture than they were getting, but watering them they started growing soggy and rotten. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? You just wanted more humidity and less soap. Any other questions? Yeah.
I have two big fiddle leaf figs. I'm in California that did great. Brought them here 3 years ago. In the back of a big truck, they did great. They've been great for 3 years. They're in the house only. Plant lights, everything. But this winter, because it's been so dry, they're taking down. So I think through leaves. Is that typical, or did I start water them?
So the question was for fiddle figs. Had them for years. I'm from California. Had them for years here. All of a sudden started going down because we've been so dry. So typically, if that's the only thing that's changed, I would say yes. Just give them more humidity.
And I bought a humidifier. I have it, between the two of them now.
Right. The things we do for plants. We buy them humidifiers. We want them to live. Has that, since you've had the humidifier, has that caused it? Yeah. I would keep on with the humidifier
All the time.
all the time when you think about it.
So they're both
Yeah. Yep. You can have it on. It depends on your house. What do you want your house? Maybe you can leave it on and the plant will be fine as long as it's not getting a lot of constantly drenched water if it's right next to it. My mom had one of those industrial grade humidifiers that if you sat right next to it, you get dew on your little cheeks. Yeah. Yeah, so I tried, keep this humidifier going. I wouldn't change too much else. Maybe fertilizer if you haven't in a while. It could just be that there's not enough nutrition in the soil anymore and the soil is hot. Sometimes you start going downhill just because of nutrition or not enough humidity.
Yeah, but it was kind of yellow leaves, but then also crispy edges at the tops.
Yeah, it could be just too dry. That's the change that we've noticed is it's been drier this season. Only had 2 days of rain in monsoon season. We're like, where's all of our humidity? Where's our rain? The other thing you can try is to get some distilled water. Sometimes our water is so hard and has so many minerals in it, that especially our bigger plants that we don't change the soil out as much, there can be a buildup of minerals in the soil, and we can get ground tipping. That's really common here with Dracaenas too, but you can get it in fiddle figs too. So try using, just get a gallon bottle from Walmart. Yeah. See if flushing it with some fresh water helps. You don't have to use it all the time. You can go back to using your stuff, but sometimes it needs, if you just need to flush the minerals out.
But I run my water, my hot water that I water through Brita.
I'm sure it does. I'm not too familiar with what Brita filters and not. So it might. I have to do some research.
It's better than just
Right. Yeah. That's right. Question.
So she talked about the brown tips on your big plants or whatever it is.
Yes.
I have that a little bit on my spider plants. They're really healthy looking, but they get the brown tips. Would that be a good thing to do with distilled water?
You can try, yeah. But I would say, Kenzie, what causes the brown tipping on spider plants most often?
So, with spider plants, I would say mostly just mist it or give it a bit more water more often. My guess is just not enough water going to fit to it. Because I don't usually see it on spider plants, that brown tipping usually goes green all the way through. So, just with that plant alone, that's fine.
Well, and I'm kind of notorious for not watering very much, so that probably is it.
Yeah. I mean, they like the humidity because they're on those little cups. Those cups, they're like air plants, air roots. So they like the humidity, but I just give it a little bit. Don't drench it. Just give it a little top watering, a little extra. No, Dracaenas are different. Dracaenas is the brown tip. These guys, they just get it. Have no good aim. Like these guys, if you have a humidifier or you missed it, you'll probably be fine. But anytime you're Dracaena, I find gets it. I just cut off those tips.
That's what I do.
Keeps it nice, keeps it going. So I just cut the tip. It still goes off the really nice. Those finer thin Dracaenas, the little ones, they'll drop a lot of the leaves, but they grow so fast you don't really notice. You'll notice they're full hands of the hair off almost, but they keep growing super fast. They just like the humidity here. They're not hard plants, you just miss Acrylic figs are different. Let me say something acrylic figs. If you get that brown spotting, if you use a fungicide bag or fungicide treatment, it does help with that brown spotting. That's kind of fungus that gets in there. We just get it here again to keep the roots wet. The plants are so dry themselves. So if you do a fungicide, it helps with that. Just keep that in the back.
Water, I'm wondering, is it okay to water your plants with salt water?
Yeah. Yeah, some plants are a little bit more finicky than others. So if you start having, when you have problems, that's something usually good with your thing. I would go buy new fancy waters for every house plant just in case. Just there are some that are a little more picky about what they get. Question? That's more sciencey than I know the answer to. So the question was, is tap water versus osmosis better than the other in some way? I'm not sciencey enough to go into depth of why certain waters, I just know buildup of minerals is bad. But I can try to look into that after the class. Yes. Question.
What causes the snake plant to?
To droop.
Yeah.
Okay, question. Why do snake plants droop? Usually that's from giving it too long in between waterings, I found. Because I had one that drooped, and once it drooped, it didn't really work back up after that. But there's different things you can do from that point. It doesn't hurt the plant once it's in this position. It's just kind of in that position now. But you can always, if there's just one or two little stalks, just cut them off. They also root really easily, so if you cut them off and you want to propagate make some new plants, you literally just cut and stick this in water, change the water once a week, they root really easily. So you can do it that way too. So you don't have to cut it off and go back to saying, oh no, it's one leaf, it's gone away. But they can take it, they're fine. Any other questions?
We just moved here from the Pacific Northwest where lighting is a problem.
Yeah.
And we have grow lights. And now that we're in Arizona, it's sunny every day. Is there an occasion where we would use the grow lights?
The only occasion you'd need a grow light is if you don't have them. So if you have light and you have space for all your plants in the light that they want, you don't need them. You can always save your grow lights if you're going to start with seed. You're going to do some stuff for the garden, for a little area to have grow lights and seeds. Or if you have a dark corner of the bedroom or closet, and not much, you can put the grow light there. But if you have light, you don't need the grow light. They would rather take light than they would a light bulb. Does that answer your question?
How often would you use the grow light?
Depends how much light they're getting. If they're getting pretty much nothing, I would have that on for probably a good 8 hours, depending on the plant. If you're already getting, a few hours of light, they just need a little bit more, just turn on for a few extra hours. So the question was, if you have a grow light and your plant, how long do you need to run that light for? Okay, go ahead. How do you know when to repot? So houseplants like to stay pretty snug. So for instance, if you have like this Chinese evergreen, I usually check a few things. If you can visually see roots coming out the top of your soil around the bottom of your plant, it's been in there a little too long. They want out. It's like my plants are too tight. They need some bigger plants. When you do repot, you want to go only about an inch or two bigger from the root. If you waited till it's nice and snug, you're probably the same time as your pot. If you're ever rushed with plant or something, you take it out of the pot and the roots are tiny. Sometimes you can even go down in size. You want to base it off of the root size rather than the pot size. I often, when I want to know if I need to go up or down or if it's good in the same size, I'll just pull it out and look at it. So he's good in here. He's not wrapping around too much, but he can go up his size about an inch or two in the next few months or so. It'll be great. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Fungus gnats.
Fungus gnats, yep.
Never had fungus gnats until I
And,
don't know what they were. How to get rid of them.
fungus gnats. So fungus gnats, if anybody used to have them, knows how I'm there. It looks fly on our face. Fungus gnats usually thrive in most environments. When be a sign we're keeping plants a little too wet, but it's just something we get here. So there's a couple options for funny snacks. The main thing that people sell in a lot of places are going to be the lights, the little blue lights that fill them, and the sticky traps. Those are great for the adult because they're attracted to those bright little sticky traps. They're attracted to the light. They'll go and die. But the problem is they lay a larva in soil, nice wet soil that we take care of in our plants. So a systemic is going to treat the soil so that it kills the larva too. And you can dual prong attack. You can have your sticky trap, you can have this too. It'll get rid of them faster. This is a great preventative for a lot of things too. So usually when I take something home, I'll just go ahead and treat them. So you just take it and do a light sprinkling in your soil. It doesn't have to be super, you don't have to be like, how many teaspoons? You just literally do a light sprinkling of it. When you first apply it, you want to make sure you water your plant first. Wait until the next time it needs it. Water it really well, sprinkle on top, and then lightly water the sprinkles. That will activate it. Then you want to let this really dry out. The reason you let it dry out is it makes this, and it also helps kill the larva because they want it. It's going to take care of them fast. The other thing on the topic of bugs, some bugs live on leaves, so then you can use sprays. This is a really easy aerosol. So the benefit of an aerosol is this is sticky on leaves. It's going to stick longer than something else. You can do, if you're really organic, like I really want to do stuff that's organic, I don't want any chemicals in my house, there are things like neem oil. Neem oil you're going to have to use a little bit more often because an oil-based product, and usually the more organic you go, the harder it is to be as effective. When you use a neem oil, you're going to want to take a plant, use grapeseed as an example. You'll get a lot of bugs in the branches of your plant. They'll be in the hard to reach places. They'll be on the underside of the leaves. They'll be between where they'll be comes out and the stalk. So you're going to want to really drench each leaf in spray. And then the next day you can come through. There's going to be a slick oil left over. You can wipe it off, take off all the dead bugs, and then monitor from there, see if they're still there. Usually I recommend with a lot of the more organic stuff to use twice. Use it the first time, come and clean your leaves the next day or two. Use it again about a week and a half later, and that usually hits the second wave of the more larva that hits the next wave. Any questions on bugs? Yes.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that insecticide
Uh-huh.
because I don't want to use it, but it really works well.
Right.
But those little pellets, or those little, they're kind of like little seeds almost.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to ever go away. Like it doesn't, they don't dissolve. Am I doing something wrong? And like now I've noticed some bugs starting again, so I'm thinking I should reapply it. Do you have concerns about using it? And also, am I doing something wrong where it's not dissolving?
So questions on the systemic, they're not dissolving very fast. How long ago did you apply, do you say?
Oh, it's probably several months, and I water every 2 weeks.
Okay, so a few months ago, watering every 2 weeks. This takes a really long time to break down. There's benefits and cons to that. Con, you see it all the time. What's that? Oh yeah, that's one thing I used months ago. Benefit is it's a slow release. It's kind of like our fertilizer that takes months to break down. It's water soluble. As new wave of water comes through, it starts breaking down more. But if it's a few months old, you might reapply. Sometimes we recommend like zhuzhing it in the soil, just like break up the soil a little bit on top. So you don't have to look at it. But there's not really any harm to this, except you don't want to use this. It's not food safe. It's not inorganic. It's not food safe. It's a really good product to kill bugs. It's something you want to consume. Did you have any other questions on that?
I guess so. It doesn't dissolve. It just
It does a little bit over time. It like slowly breaks down, but it's not going to dissolve like a tablet we put in water, like an open seltzer or something.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Question.
Baby, and I think it's very bad. And I try to get rid of
So ants on daisies. Ants are going to be a whole other ballgame. I don't have anything up here for them. We have a couple products. It depends on the type of ant you have, for one. Usually when ants are climbing up your plants, ants don't go after plants. They go after aphid do. So aphids are these little bugs we get a lot here, and they kind of suck the sap out of plant leaves and stuff, and they poop it back out. So we call it dew to make it sound more prettier, aphid dew, but it's poop. And it's really sticky. If you've ever gone through your plant and you're like, oh, this is really sticky. I didn't apply anything. I didn't do anything to the plant. Why is it sticky? It's aphid dew, and it's really sweet for insects. So ants come up the plant and eat the dew off the leaves. So usually when you have ants on another plant, it's a side effect of having aphids, and aphids we can treat too. So we have products for ants, get rid of them to not get bitten foot, things like that. They're not a harm to our plants, they're more just annoying. And then we have products to treat your aphids, more topical, more sprays. This is something you can spray. We also have some other products too, neem oils, things like that, that we can treat the aphids, because aphids will cause some damage to your plants. Any other questions?
I do want to speak a little bit more on repotting really quick. I think it's really important. So, this is the cool down. So with repotting, most people will just take this and they'll just print it. Okay. I know it seems real easy, but you just want to make sure you really break this up. You don't have to be aggressive. I mean, that depends on what you want to do. I make messes what I do. Go, if I hear a lot, you'll notice that. So that's how I put it back. I break them up because you want the feeder roots to train them to go. They're trained right now to stay in that pot, stay in that shape. You want to break them up to make them go somewhere. And the reason, like, why I would only go up to this size is because if you put this in something, like I understand you want to buy one pot for its lifespan and go, I want to pay for more, and you'll pick something bigger. It freaks it out. It's like, oh, I put these like huge, I forced to now, roots, and then it basically takes all its energy in the roots, and it just like dies up here because it's just like I don't have that energy to do that. I don't have energy to sit and do pretty things and then do that. You have to do it in stages. You do it in plastic. You can do it in like we have some really pretty. Like, we have terracotta pots right now, the really pretty ones. You can't go outside; they will freeze them fast. Inside they're great, cheaper alternative. But then again, that's a good size, maybe a little bit deeper. Would be good for this. So just think about that when you're repotting. Little succulents don't love shallow pots. They love to stay really. They like to go bigger. They like to stay shallow. So snake plants. He'll be fine. I just screwed him. So you see how they don't have as many roots? They're just not that big. Okay? They can't go something bigger because again, they got this many roots. So he could probably go into this because he's a little bit bigger. But I might go wider and the same depth as this guy. Like you go wider, so it gives them room to tough out, big tufts and everything. Succulents is how they work. So they don't really need the root structure, they just send out another root tough. So that's kind of how you would repot and stuff like that. The other thing is if you have huge houseplants like cubic ficus and they need to be replanted, but it's just a process. And that's how they're heavy and people rather work. Yeah. Or what I can do is if there's not old stuff, and you're like, I just want to sand, make them look good. So I'll just top them. Like as long as you're refreshing that dirt, you're good. You can't just like leave the dirt because water is harsh. Will eventually kill that kind of soil, and they just need some fertilizing is great, but sometimes just refreshing that soil, taking a couple inches, throwing on top every couple of years. As you water, dirt just disappears. Plant uses it, goes at the bottom. I don't know. Dirt goes places. I don't know where. Just take it and put it on top. You don't need to work it in that much. You can do a little bit if you want. Just throw some top, and as you water, it goes down, brings back nutrients, stuff like that. So, because if you're using potting soil or happy crop, it's got nutrients in it. Cactus soil doesn't really have any additives. It's just a great airflow, water flow. This has a little bit more of the peat moss and stuff. It doesn't smell, but it just creates a better environment. So that's the way to trick your big house plants if you don't want to replant. I get it, it's a little work. I just did a ficus tree that was like 6-7 feet tall and wide, which you can fly.
Sure.
Yeah, so we can do it. But yeah, sure. So that's kind of just a quick thing on repotting. If you have bigger pots, which is probably going to see gravel trays are great for small things. If you have bigger pots and you want some airflow under there, airflow here is kind of important because if you take your pot and stick it on the ground, there's no air underneath it, so it doesn't dry out. That's part of the problem. It won't dry out. You just take coffee, put it underneath, and you let it sit on it, in an inch of air. So underneath really dries out your pot, helps with rotting, helps with overwatering. I love to overwater everything, so I just not touch it. But I kill some plants. No, I'm not. I tell them so.
I thought I was. I killed 3 of them.
You got your plant.
There you go.
Other things. Yeah, I think they're so easy to do. If you overwater once, they're pretty much dead. They're easy, but they're not. If I hadn't done this under it, I guess I probably would have not killed this one. It's just pretty quick. If you're gonna have these where when I start doing it. Well, I think that's it on repot. I just want to throw it out there. That's why you probably have Houseplants. Yeah. You can do a lot of them. They just need a lot of light, honestly. So grow lights you have to on herbs. But you can almost do any herb you want. Basil especially because it takes being outdoors here pretty sad sometimes. That's pretty much I like it. And even then, not a lot of light. But thyme, mint, oregano, almost anything else. You might have to control it some of that if you want to take over.
Yeah.
You just pull it, take it, whatever.
So, because I have this little bug problem every so often,
Mm-hmm.
if I had basil, I wouldn't want to put insecticide in. What would I do? Let it die, let it
Yeah,
die.
I mean, there's not a good answer. That's another branch. I don't have another systemic that can use some pots. I do have more organic. This is our more organic, to bugs brand that we're trying to run. Basically, a lot of different oils. You know more about this than I do. But we're trying to get into this. They have also super growth elixir. So if you like to, like I actually said, this seems great. I find that you can use this as well. This is a new spray fertilizer. This does not just replace the liquid one that you pour in the ground, but this I found when I'm spraying my houseplants really helps them grow up. I've noticed like my plants that were doing anything, they're not throwing up new leaves really fast, they're staying greener. So I was surprised by this. It was actually really nice. I spray it once a week on my plants. Ones that don't get sun on it, if sun gets on it, it'll probably burn it because it is oil, there's some oil on it. But I would say something like this, you spray it once a week and keep up on it, especially with soil. I think that would help.
So this is essentially oil and what's the other thing I was saying? So this is neem oil, castile soap, a lot of herbs. So it's like cinnamon, thyme, here. So this is stuff you can practically eat anyway. I would still watch out for these more. But if you do have like a little herb garden like got bugs, this is easier to use on stuff that has wider leaves that are easier to wipe off afterwards. But you can use this on anything. So if you have your basils and things, you just really anything that's oil based that you're trying to kill bugs or fungus. You have to really soak because how oil kills things is it smothers them. They basically can't escape the oil. You have to use it really heavily, like the more natural, the harder, like you have to be more specific with how you treat. But you can use this on your animals.
Is on basil, then you're putting that on the leaf and then you're eating it.
Right, but you just want to wipe it. It's not going to get like into your structure. It's just sitting.
So you'd be selling this, like it has all the ingredients. You'd be spraying on there oil, soap, geranium oil, rose oil, lemongrass, pepper. Like that's what you're putting on. It's a lot of stuff that we still eat anyway. You don't want to taste it necessarily. They want to make pesto. You don't necessarily want all those flavors in it. But you can spray and just wash off. Like when you're picking, you wash your vegetables anyway, right? You're going to want to wash this off. Not necessarily eat straight from the plant, it off. But yeah.
Ladybug and woolly aphid are extremely hard to get rid of because they have that backing. They have the hard casing or they have that woolliness. So they are extra dangerous in terms of trying to get rid of organically. You might have to go a little stronger. But aphids, regular aphids, things like that, it's naturally.
And that other spray is good, just a weekly misting.
Just a weekly misting for like, yeah. I think they're there on me. What do you? Yeah.
I was taught to put gravel or stones in the bottom of the pot. But sometimes that gets really heavy, etc. You haven't, I see that none of these have any gravel in the top.
Yeah, so I'll let you speak on it, but she basically said some people, put a lot of gravel to base their pots and the drainage and stuff. Here, go ahead.
Personal preference, if you want to put rocks in the bottom of your pot, a lot of people do it inside or outside. You can if you want to, especially if you buy a pot that's too deep for the pot that you're putting in. You can do that, and it creates that extra little buffer of airflow. It also means that the water's not going to stick at the bottom of the pot; it's going to drain through the rocks. Again, it does, as she was saying, it makes it heavier, so it's more of a personal preference. We tend not to because we go for pot sizes that are correct for the plant we're putting in it automatically. But
The only other reason I don't like it is sometimes with the holes in the bottom of the pot, they can block that, so then it creates a problem for you. So you either get big enough rocks, or you put a cover over that drainage hole first, like a mesh or something, and then do rocks. Then you can do that. So that's the only reason I don't like rocks. Sometimes it's just blocking.
You should always try and extract lots of results.
Yes.
I thought they were really cool pots.
Yeah. Pretty pots, sometimes those holes. I always suggest never do that. Don't buy them without holes unless you're doing a pot and pot. They can take out water and put it back in. But things are just you'll always overwater. 9%.
Yeah.
Do you have strategies that work if you have to leave your plants for longer than the typical watering period? Like, do you change the lighting or?
there's a couple options. If you're going on vacation, you don't want to say somebody to come over. There's a couple ways to keep your plants moist when you're gone. We sell a couple of them. So one is a small ceramic little thing with a screw cap. And what you do is you put a water bottle and you screw it on and you stick that in. And as the ceramic part dries out, it's porous. So it actually sucks water through only when it's dry. While it's wet, it won't overwater. And when it dries out, it will water your plants. So if you have big plants, especially that need that, you just stick it in with a water bottle. It's kind of like those last ones, except it has more water, so it can last longer while you're on vacation. The other ones we have, for smaller plants, we have one with rope. You actually have a bowl or a glass next to your plant, and it has a rope that goes into it with a plastic prong. And same way science works, as it dries out the rope on this end, it will pull the water through it and water your plant. They're small, so they only work for a couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 at most. And the ropes are more for your smaller plants, not really the bigger ones that you want more water. But there's options.
The other thing you can do is you have a lot. When I go on a little bit longer vacation, I'll take my houseplants and I'll put it in a bathtub or shower because it just creates a little microclimate. I still probably have to do the water bottle thing or something else, but that also helps them dry out as much as just put it together. Don't put water in your something.
Rosemary.
Yeah.
I have seen rosemary in Vegas, in the winter with snow, and it looks great. In the summer, it looks great. I have one pot now. I had several, and they just, I
So
don't
you
know
like
what
to water. You like to water your things because rosemary here, how most people kill it is they keep it too wet. Again, we dry out here, but the bottoms stay wet, so she pots just freeze up. I guess it's just too wet. They can handle going really super dry. Even in our winters when we do get some snow, you probably just never water yourself to do it. But that would be my guess, because they really like to dry out and be dry.
I thought it was the pot, so it's not necessarily the pot, because I see them in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Unless the pot's too small for its grows, maybe, but I think the pot needs probably stay too.
Okay. But
And
they're
then
dry. I mean,
So rosemary fakes you out for that matter. So it will look the same kind of whether it's over. So a lot of times it will look dry,
Oh.
but it actually stays wet. It'll show a slight yellow tinge, but it's not going to be as much as you think for that. But that's also, that's a tricky thing. It shows kind of the same problem. for both. The best thing is if you have one value, pull it out, look at the root structure. If your root should be white. That's how they should look healthy. If you pull it out, like anything, if it's a dark brown, and you can touch it and like pull off the root, stay too wet. If it's a really light brown,
One little bit.
yeah.
Not necessarily that shape or size or anything, but that's the color we want. So it's a white root.
Yeah, this is really dark looking, and you can touch it and like it sloughs off. Stay too wet. If it's like a really light color, almost like a twig, it probably needs to stay wet. Basic rule of thumb, there's some things about it. That's how you can look at it if somebody dies on you.
And then just on that topic, pots outside you can go bigger. Houseplants you stay small with the root system. Outside plants you can go big. You don't need, just an inch or two. You can go really big if you're straight outside.
Well, I brought them in because they were dying outside, so then I thought, well, maybe they'll, because I love fresh.
If most of it's dry, probably lobster. Willingness to always bring it in outside of that, because they don't like to change environment that much.
But I noticed that they like it in the snow,
Yeah.
the cold weather. So a pot on the deck wouldn't
Yeah, when it should be a problem, it's
Okay.
more about figuring it out.
water.
Morning or afternoon sun cycles. So yeah, there's a little bit of a difference in the sun that you're getting in the morning versus the afternoon. Anybody that goes outside a lot knows afternoon sun's gonna be the harshest. It's gonna be more intense. It's gonna be hotter. It's gonna burn easier. So plants that can take the direct light, will tell you, like your cactus, your barrel cactus and things, those can go straight for direct afternoon, all day sun, totally fine. They're sensitive to the cold, but not the sun. But totally fine. Some of the other ones that want more bright indirect, they'll do really well with like the morning sun if that's direct on them, but not necessarily the afternoon sun. So even your, if you have cocoa or which trends.
How big the leaves are.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm just amazed. I didn't see that big leaves. Excited.
So when you have, plants like these and you put them direct in a window that maybe it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's getting straight sun, you might see some burning in the leaves. They want indirect, they want to be next to that afternoon sunshine, just not in it. They can't take that intense afternoon through the glass microscope right on the leaves and burn. But morning sun, that can be called morning direct.
Northeast side is usually really good sun. Southwest is harsh. You first one. Yeah. Yeah, Norfolk's so hard here. I would probably do a root growth since you just transplanted it, so it's probably stressed along with it. Yeah. So again, they're kind of like rosemary. They'll show whether they're over under. They'll do that same thing. So my guess is it's staying too wet in the root system without seeing it. Cut off anything dry. Cut it off. Get rid of it so it doesn't have to waste energy on the Norfolk. It's drying out. Do this on top of it, and then cutting off your watering. I might water it once a week, if not once every 2 weeks. Depends on your pot. We can talk a bit more. But yeah, the Norfolk's really good.
I have several small cactuses,
Mhm.
and I was told that they need to come inside in the winter because they wouldn't survive. So that's what I do. I bring them in the winter, put them out, and it starts getting warm. So I'm wondering when can I safely move them out again?
Yeah, so cactus, not all cactus should actually do well here. Just by the way, if you like root varieties do well, and prickly pear, barrel or temperamental or zonal, and like fish hooks. So anything smaller than that, the small ones, bring inside for the winter. You're probably not going to put them out fully until April or May, depending on if we get snow or freeze. So usually it's May, but it still stops freezing at night. They hate going probably. They like to be if you're above. You're probably keeping some cold.
And I don't really have any place where there's bright sun all the time. They seem to do okay.
Yeah, as long as you don't overwater them, they'll do fine. Even though it's not as bright a light, most people just tend to practice too much in a darker space. But it sounds like you're just not keeping too much. They'll be fine in that darkness space. Take a warm nail outside, but they're fine in that.
And I heard that this is what I do. I just put ice cube once a week in it. Is that all right? I mean, it's the cold.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be working for you. That's personally why I like ice cubes, is it's just a little bowl for things. But the reason those work is because it's just shallow water. You're not soaking the soil, you're just keeping the base fruit moist, and that's why it works so well, would be my guess. It's probably not enough that often to make the roots freeze out or anything like that, but you could just maybe use not an ice cube and just like a little bit of top watering. But if it works for you, it works for you. I don't mean it's kind of a preference. Like orchid, people I work it. I don't like that because it just freaks me out. But some people it works great. They're like, it blooms every year dry. I'm like, great. I hate it because I can care for it. I don't water. That's kind of a preference. I don't know these flowers.
And I have some that hardly cover blue. Is there anything that can be done? Usually nothing. But is there anything that can be done to help them bloom, or just let it go?
No.
There's a couple of reasons. They want less light come fall to get them, like if you happen to bloom Christmas, Thanksgiving, that time, give them a little bit less light in fall for a few months. For that, some people, because scientifically they're in nature, they get so many hours, I think it's like 12 hours a day of like darkness pretty much, and then biologically it sets off that clock. Okay, pretty soon in the next few months it's going to bloom. I put mine in an office I'm not in very much, and just naturally as the sunlight goes away from that room, it gets enough darkness that it just blooms every year on its own. So you might just move it in the fall to a spot that doesn't get light switches turned on and off, and not quite as much in the window. And for me that works, but mine works for you. Other thing you can do is make sure you're fertilizing, make sure it's cactus fertilizer is also blooms, and you can do either of those. But typically that's for two reasons. Another thing you can keep in mind is how warm it is in the spot. That room I keep it in is kind of cold, and again, biologically, they go through a period in that fall where they're between like 45 and 55 degrees, and they need a little bit more cold. It doesn't have to be quite that cold, but put it in a colder section that's away from like your heating vents, because that heat will tell it it's not time to bloom and stop it.
You can put them in closets, things like that, right? For the heating season, and that darkness just works. Any question? I think we're right at time. Yeah.
Just about.
Thank you, Rio.
Thank you.